Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Jurgen Moltman and Evangelical Theology, edited by Chung in 2012. We're going to look at our final composite, the final 5 essays, and we will be taking a look at Karkinen, Hone, Bradshaw, Costello, and Parker. We'll look at pneumatology, salvation, ecclesiology, eschatology, and ethics. This will be the second page of the 2-page composite, but it gives a good overall look at the entire collection. So let's take a look at these 5 and get kind of a final composite here. If we take a look at row 6, the author is Karkinen. Topic is pneumatology. The triad he presented was spirit as life force, spirit as living space, and spirit as wellspring of life. Evangelicals, we find that personal Christian life is emphasized and reception of salvation. For Moltman, he emphasizes the Spirit's role in creation and panentheism. So there's a very significant difference there. Now, row 7, we're going to look at Hone, and he had the topic of salvation. And the triad presented was salvation within God's being, salvation within God's history, salvation through God's doxa glory. For evangelicals, and pay attention here, these are critical differences here. For evangelicals, justified creation is abbreviated under justification of souls. For Moltman, human salvation is abbreviated under justification of creation. That's a very important distinction there. And it is true. That is exactly what Moltman's position is. Human salvation is abbreviated under justification of creation. That's what leads to his universal salvation. Now, row 8, we take a look at Bradshaw and ecclesiology. And by the way, a very good essay. That ecclesiology essay was very good. It gives us the triad. Church is form of Christ. Church is content of signification. Church is real through circle of healing. For evangelicals, the primary dialectic is sin and grace. And church is the body, and church is the bride. For Moltman, the primary dialectic is suffering and hope, and the church is servant. So evangelicals are more likely to emphasize the being of the church, and Moltman is more likely to emphasize the church on the way. Now, row 9, we take a look at Costello, and he took up the topic of eschatology. He gave us the triad of eschatological conscience, eschatological kingdom, and clarifying of kingdom. Another very good essay. For evangelicals, they emphasize the already of kingdom, and they emphasize God with us. For Moltman, he emphasizes the not yet of kingdom and the God ahead of us. And like I've said all along, the real differences are differences in emphasis, not content, okay? It's differences in emphasis, not differences in content of doctrine. We know that Moltman has a very reformed position, and that there's not huge differences in doctrine, but there are differences in emphasis for sure. Let's take a look at row 10. It's by Parker. He was given the topic of ethics. He gave us subjective Christopraxis, objective alternative community, and the return moment of creation of peace, Irene. Now, in this instance, evangelicals and Moltman both agree that the Sermon on the Mount is the foundation for Christian ethics. There is agreement. And that really underlies the fact that there's a great deal of agreement between evangelicals and Moltman. A tremendous amount of agreement, really. There is difference in emphasis in the doctrines, but not radical differences in content. We've been blessed by a very great manuscript. I think Chung gave us something very valuable here. I appreciate it. It's been a blessing to me. And this is going to wrap up the second composite page, and it's going to wrap up our study of Jurgen, Moltman, and Evangelical Theology. We will discuss our next project in our next meeting.